Hey Jack, how you going? Long night.
Long night for everybody. Yeah, so it looks like you're underway again.
Yes, we're trying to make sure we don't hit any of these little islands just off this reef system.
Did you ever actually get sight of the boat at all, or were you too far away?
Yeah, so in fact it's basically just a coral reef flat, and the little islands between us and Vestas were about 1 metre high. And so there was probably 1 to 1.5 metres over the reef flat at high tide, so we could see the yacht clear as day in the morning, leaning over at a terrible angle with large breaking waves just to weather of it, and we could see the life raft tethered to the rock.
Obviously, by the time you got there, it was dark, so there must have been some pretty tense moments on board your boat just to make sure you didn't end up in a similar situation.
That's right. I mean, we had been talking about these reefs for some time, so we were already pretty nervous about it. We spoke to Nico and said, in our opinion, if you get into a life raft, you're going to get swept onto the reef, because the whole reef is set up for a southeasterly trade wind. And with the waves washing onto the reef, we figured that if they got into the life raft, they would get washed across the reef into the lagoon area. So in agreement with Nico, we went around into the lagoon area, dropped our sails, and very nervously motored in using the sounder to get as close as we could. And then we were able to motor up and down within handheld VHF range, and we could see the flashing lights on the life rafts, and they could see our mast light, and we were able to every 30 minutes have a radio contact, and we think that made a big difference to their night.
It's pretty hard to imagine what they were going through, trying to picture how the boat was lying on the reef, and it took several different calls over a number of hours to find out exactly the orientation of the boat to the waves and what damage was done.
Yeah, well, we were party every 30 minutes to the slow destruction of the yacht, and it was terrible to hear what was happening. And then eventually it was very professionally done by Wouter, as they explained in detail, as one by one they made the transition from the boat to the life raft, and we wrote down and knew every person that was in each place. They fired off a parachute flare to light up initially the whole area so we could see what was happening, and then they established that we had everyone in the raft and they were safe. And then they proceeded initially to head towards us because they could see our light. There's a little bit of black humour there when we transferred their call sign to Vestas Mobile at that point, when they were walking across the reef flat. But it was good to be able to maintain contact with people that are good friends, and they knew that we had their back, and we had a plan in place. If there'd been no one else here, I feel that we would have been able to eventually get to each other.
What condition did you leave them in when you finally hoisted sails and started sailing back towards Abu Dhabi?
The discussion initially was they were going to come to us, and we were going to have a discussion and check that they had food, accommodation, and everything was sorted. And then they had 2 boats, and so one boat was able to go back to the boat and collect some more personal gear from the boat. And I think they must have had time to have a discussion with one of the guys who spoke good English. And then at that point, we got a phone call from Nico, a VHF call from Nico, who was at that stage obviously sounding pretty broken. that they were sorted, they had a plan. There was nothing we could do to help them anymore, but they were incredibly appreciative of the role we'd played, and they wanted us to not to disrupt our lives anymore, and they sent us on our way, which was, to us, we would have in many ways liked to have seen them, if you like, to have closure, but I can understand completely the place they are in, that once they were safe and everything was okay, they then wanted us to continue our race.